unexpected force only once before, on a day of battle in the last Scottish campaign. For fairer, for fouler, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. The whispering of the crowd gradually subsided. Silence spread like a circular ripple, and the royal young voice rang out above those thousands of heads, audible almost to the far end of the yard. The king slowly recited the long vow he had learned the previous day, but he might have been inventing it afresh, so clearly did he articulate each phrase and lend each word grave and profound significance. It was like a prayer said once and destined to last a lifetime. The boyish figure seemed endued with the mind of a man supremely sure of the vow he was taking in the face of heaven, of a prince conscious of the part he had to play between his people and his God. The new king was taking his family, his friends, his great officers of state, his barons, his prelates, his people of York, and, indeed, of all England, to witness the love he was vowing to Madame Philippa. Prophets burning with the zeal of God, and leaders of nations who are imbued with some unique conviction, can infect the crowd with their faith. A public affirmation of love also has this power, and can make everyone share one man's emotion. There was not a woman in the crowd, whatever her age, whether she was newly married, was deceived by her husband, was a widow, a virgin, or a grandmother, who did not feel herself at that moment to be standing in the bride's place, and there was not a man who did not identify himself with the young king. Edward III was uniting himself to every woman among his people, and it was his whole kingdom that was taking Philippa to wife. The dreams of youth, the disillusionments of maturity, and the regrets of old age were all centred on the young couple, heartfelt offerings. And when darkness fell in the ill-lit streets, the eyes of betrothed couples would glow brighter in the night, and husbands and wives, who had been long at enmity, would reach for each other's hands when supper was done. From the beginning of time, people have crowded to the weddings of princes in order to enjoy a vicarious happiness which, when seen in the highest, must seem perfect. "Till death us do part." There was a lump in every throat. A vast, sad, almost reproachful sigh rose from the crowd. At such a moment there should be no mention of death. Surely this young couple could not be mortal or subject to the common lot. "And thereto I plight thee my troth." The young king heard the people sigh, but he didn't look at them. His pale blue, almost grey eyes, their long lashes raised for once, were gazing at the chubby, freckled little girl, wrapped in veils and velvets, to whom he was making his vows. Indeed, Madame Philippa was not at all like a princess in a fairy story. She was not even very pretty, for she had the heavy features, short nose, and freckles of the Ainos. Nor was she endowed with any particular grace of movement, yet she had an attractive simplicity, and made no attempt to assume an air of majesty, which would certainly not have become her. Without her royal adornments, she would have looked no different from any other red-headed girl of her age. There were hundreds like her in every one of the northern kingdoms. But this merely increased her popularity with the crowd. Though she was the elected of fate and of God, she was essentially no different from the women over whom she was to reign. Every stout, red-headed girl felt that she had, somehow or other, been personally complimented and honoured. Trembling with emotion, Philippa screwed up her eyes, as if unable to bear the intensity of her bridegroom's gaze. All that was happening to her was so incredible.